911, what's your emergency?
7103 suspect.
67 Roger.
911, what's your emergency?
Viewer discretion advised. This program discusses true crime cases and contains sensitive topics, disturbing details, and graphic descriptions that may be upsetting to some viewers. Flashing lights or visual effects may also appear. This content is presented for educational, documentary, and commentary purposes under fair use guidelines outlined in Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. The woman who called herself God. The Madani Ceus case. In late August 2017, sheriff's deputies navigated a remote, rugged stretch of land in Norwood, Colorado. At first glance, it looked like a typical off-grid campsite, just a few tents, scattered vehicles, and makeshift shelters. There was no running water, no electricity, and no connection to the modern world. But as deputies searched the property, they made a discovery that would haunt them forever. Inside a parked, sun-baked vehicle sat the remains of two young sisters identified in court records only as MR and HM. They had been dead for weeks, left inside the car through the brutal heat of a Colorado summer. How did two young girls end up forgotten in a hot car, while a group of healthy adults lived just yards away? The answer lies in the dark. Absolute control of one woman, Madani Ceus. To her followers, she wasn't just a leader, she was Amma, and to some, she was Yahweh, the creator of the universe. To understand how this tragedy unfolded, we have to look back to Florida, where Madani Ceus' journey began. Ceus didn't have a massive public profile. She didn't write books, run a megachurch, or broadcast her teachings online. Instead, her influence grew quietly, handpicking a small, deeply devoted circle of followers. Former members described Ceus as incredibly charismatic. When she spoke, it was with absolute, unshakable certainty. Over time, that certainty morphed into something terrifying. Ceus claimed she was the physical manifestation of God. She demanded to be called Amma, a title of ultimate spiritual motherhood, and claimed total authority over life, death, and salvation. Under her influence, followers surrendered everything, members abandoned their old names and adopted new ones, relationships with the outside world were systematically severed. The group became a nomadic, tight-knit commune, traveling from Florida through several states before finally settling on the remote Colorado property in 2015. In this group, there was no room for dissent. If you questioned Amma, you were publicly humiliated and accused of being spiritually corrupted by evil forces. With no outside influences to anchor them, the followers completely surrendered their minds to her will. Among those traveling with the group was Nashika Bramble and her two young daughters, M, R, and H. The girls were quiet, obedient, and entirely dependent on the adults around them. But in the summer of 2017, the dynamic shifted. Ceus suddenly declared that one of the sisters was spiritually contaminated. She began describing the child as impure, dangerous, and corrupted by supernatural evil. To the cult, Ceus' word was the word of God. No one questioned her. Soon, both sisters were completely banished from the community. What started as simple exclusion quickly escalated into a death sentence. First, the group was ordered not to speak to the girls. Then, they were banned from giving them food or water. Finally, Ceus ordered everyone to stay away from the vehicle where the children had been locked inside. During the blistering summer heat, the sisters were left to starve and dehydrate inside that car. While they suffered, a group of healthy adults, including their own mother, went about their daily lives just yards away. No one called 911. No one slipped them water. No one intervened. They simply watched, waited, and obeyed. When deputies finally arrived in late August, the advanced state of decomposition made the crime scene incredibly difficult to process. Investigators from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation had to rely on forensic pathology, digital forensics, and grueling interviews to piece together the timeline. As the details emerged, prosecutors realized this wasn't just a case of neglect. It was a coordinated conspiracy of silence governed by psychological coercion. The state brought charges against 5 members of the group: Madani Ceus, the leader, Nashika Bramble, the mother of the victims, Ashford, Nathaniel Archer, Ika Eden, and Frederick Alexander Blair. The trial of People v. Madani Ceus forced a jury to grapple with a chilling question: how much legal responsibility does a spiritual leader bear for the actions of their followers? The prosecution's case was clear. Ceus' absolute authority was the direct cause of the children's deaths. Former cult members took the stand, describing the paralyzing fear and devotion that Ceus weaponized to keep them silent. The defense argued that a communal off-grid lifestyle and unusual religious beliefs did not automatically equate to criminal liability. Ultimately, the jury didn't buy it. They found Madani Ceus guilty of 2 counts of child abuse resulting in death. The judge sentenced her to 64 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections. The other adults involved faced separate trials and sentencing, holding each accountable for their failure to protect the innocent lives in their care. The tragedy of the Ceus cult is a devastating reminder of how easily vulnerability can be exploited. It forces us to look at the dangers of total isolation, the terrifying power of coercive control, and the critical importance of speaking up when the vulnerable are kept in the shadows. The names of the two young sisters remain protected by the courts, but their tragedy serves as a solemn warning of what can happen when people surrender their humanity to a self-proclaimed God.